Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this today, but I also want to tell you a few things about mosaics. Now, I don't use gloves a lot of times, but if you don't use gloves, you need to know that the grout will get into your fingers and you'll have to scrub it out. It takes a couple days. I use a sugar scrub or a salt scrub. It will get under your nails. It can dry you out. So you really should try gloves if you can stand it, if you're not bothered by that. The other thing is never ever when you use water to wipe off your mosaics, you never want to pour it down the drain. That will clog your drain. So take it outside and pour it. So safety with goggles before you break things and gloves. All right, this is how we do it. So you don't have to worry about glass pieces shattering all over the place and flying. You should wrap it. I wrap it either in at least 3 bags, or you can use newspaper, but I would still recommend a bag or 2. I'll show you some other things you can wrap it in too as we go along. Here I chose to wrap my ceramic piece in an old drop cloth. I was going to throw this cloth out anyway. Anything that you use, old towels or a drop cloth like this, you want to throw it away afterwards. Here we're carefully picking out the pieces of the plate. There are teeny tiny pieces that you can't see that are left in this bag. I'll leave them in here. Then we'll dispose of the bag later. I will use the same bag as I put in some glass tiles, and then I'm going to wrap more bags around that just for safety reasons. The plate did break nicely. It doesn't have a lot of teeny tiny shards of glass. Now, these tiles will shatter a bit more, and some glass will. And if you try mirrors, that will also shatter easily. So you want to be careful. That's why I always wrap it. Here are the pieces that I'm not going to use. So I'll wrap that up tightly and we'll just throw that away. Here's my finished layout. A few things to know about mosaics when you're building them. Make sure that you have a pretty solid edge, because if you have a lot of room, like say this, this will not be a good area to grout. You have to have some kind of edge to it so that the grout has something to hold on to, like a frame. So I have as much as I can around my edge. It's not perfect, but as long as I have less than 1/4 of an inch, I'd say. And I'm going to use sanded grout because of that. Sanded grout has actual sand in it, and it helps to hold your pieces together. So if you have areas that are anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, you will need sanded grout. If it's closer together, really, really teeny tiny close together, then you can use unsanded grout. At this point, I finished adding all my glue, and just in case you couldn't see it very well, I want to show you that you need a pretty good amount of glue on this, because when you press it down on your board, you want to feel it cushion down, and it should be not easy to move. And then you can wipe around it. Now, you should be wearing gloves. I usually don't, but then you want to rag it off as well. So at this point, I'm going to wet a cloth down and make sure that I'm cleaning up my stones of any adhesive, because it's very hard to get off once it's dry. We're ready to grout. I'm using a product called Simple Grout. It's pre-mixed. So besides having sanded and unsanded grout, there are pre-mixed, and then there is grout that you have to mix with water. It comes in a powder. Now the joints on here say 1/16 to 1/2 an inch crack. So we're good with our product, and I'm using the gray. And I'm just going to use an old spatula. They recommend that you use a float, and that is wonderful for floors and walls. But for something small like this, I just prefer to use an old spatula. Here is my finished mosaic. You might have to wipe it a couple more times with a dry cloth. If you keep going over it with a wet cloth, what happens is the grout will continue to put a film on the glass and the other pieces. So you want to use dry towel then when you get that all off. Also, don't forget to wipe off your edge. Now, I didn't get to this right away, and it did get a little hard. I could take sandpaper and I could sand that off, and you can also paint your edges. So grout can be painted, and it can be sealed if you want to, but you don't have to. So there you go. Have fun, break some plates, feel better, build it back the way you want it. You're in control. All right, thanks for watching.